Hi everybody, thanks for coming to the den. So I'm just putting this rough video out to the group just to keep you guys up to date, but I'll use elements of it in the overall. I'm really moving now. All the plates are printed. There's 16 plates of the 331 miniatures, a few more than Frosthaven. And now is time to start clipping these and getting these mounted onto some bases, which is fairly straightforward. So the bases that I'll be printing tend to come from various sources. So they're a sort of standard size base. I wanted to keep the same size base for everybody. And they could come in various colours, depending on what's on the machines at the time. So there'll be 300 odd of those bases for you to paint and spray when the model's done. So what are we going to need for this? Well, you're going to need some bases, obviously. You're going to need some side clippers or side cutters. Don't need an expensive pair, just with a good nice fine tip, because you may just need to help the supports off. The supports on the models are around about 85% support on a very thin support, so they're densely populated, 85%. That means that they will peel off a lot easier, but they are dense, so you won't be able to just go straight in. And I mean, most of it you can sort of start prizing away in chunks, but because most of these models have huge amount of detail and supporting lots of fine detail, especially the one with the guy with the birds, I forget the name of it, but that's really detailed. So that's good. So you need to take your time. I'm wearing gloves at the moment, but I do wear barrier creams and things. I'm just doing this for effect, really, because these are triple isopropanol washed and they're pretty dry. They're supple because they need a final cure. Now, how do you do a final cure? Well, you could get yourself a UV light thing. I've got a 100 watt one there, that's pretty powerful. You could use a UV torch, or effectively you could just leave them in the sunlight on your window shelf. That's enough UV there. So I've left them intentionally soft, as it were. They're not super soft, but a bit more. It makes them a bit more pliable. So when you actually come to cutting any of these supports, you're not going to send vibrations up and snap anything off. Before we start removing, you make yourself aware of the model, what's encased in there, what parts it's attached to. I mean, there are a number of them, so once you've had a look at them, just make sure you know where you're going with it. It's not a big thing, but just, you know, before you start cutting away or pulling away, is there a limb, is there a leg there that should be adhered to? All right, so that's how you'll get them. They travel well like this, nicely supported for the parts, and it's just for you to pull apart. Now, a lot of the bases, as you can see, they don't there's a base support, but they don't actually have it's not full throughout in a lot of cases, so it enables you to break them off. That's entirely up to you. I tend to like to do that, just break away a couple if it's safe to do so. Once again, look at the model. If it looks like, you know, this sort of pressure on the model that you're pressing on to is going to cause a problem, then that's not the case. You know, just be careful. These ones, actually, the big crab things, the various ones, that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, what else do I need? Super glue. I use super glue all the time. For this, I also use, it's called Mitre Fast. I mean, you have a similar one where you are. It's basically the action agent. It will set super. You literally got 10 seconds once you spray it on to stick it down, but you can get that bond really quick. So we'll be using that. Well, we call it Mitre Fast over here, and it comes with some. It's about £7 or £8, but you get a lot of material in there. So we'll be using that. As for anything else, yeah, you can use some clippers. Oh, let me just find my other bits. This is very good unscripted work. But what you need, there we are, got them, is some small clippers, needle, you know, pincers. Yeah. So some of those, that can help lift out some of the little bits. Okay. So first thing, I've got this Automatron, I think it is. That's my first one to pull off. He's a fairly solid piece. There's not detail really I've got to worry about. He's pretty solid model throughout. Always do one at a time, and then you can tell on that. And literally on this, I'll start pulling away the support. There we are. Now I know I'm not going to be pulling off any sort of super detail. It will come off in clumps. The other thing is worth doing. The model is always raised by a few, you know, a few centimeters, and it's worth putting your side cutters in and chopping the base off, as it were. Yeah. You shouldn't have any model on the deck when it's printed. It's raised off the deck, and once you've done that, you can then sort of work back and pull off the rest there. So that just pulls away very nicely. Sometimes you can get a little bit heavy-handed with it. There we are. In this particular case, I know that this is a solid model and it's not going to get damaged in any way. And there you are. She comes off quite clean. Now you will find little bits and pieces. You can use your pliers there just to tease them off. I haven't got it to hand, but I always have an old toothbrush as well. So, well, they're probably on the other side of the workshop. I have a little old toothbrush because there could be little bits. Now, not so much with this one, not too bothered about that. But, yeah. And he cleans off very nicely there. And a little toothbrush will just knock out everything. Everything that needs doing. So, he's ready to be mounted. Right, so we'll put him to one side for the moment, and what we'll do now is get one of the crab things. Now this is slightly a bit more different because once again it's encased in all this support. It looks more daunting than it is actually. So the first thing I want to do with this actually is I'm going to chop the base. So I'm going to get now one thing you will notice that when you start cutting into this, you could get little bits flying off. So be careful of that. Do not be doing this where perhaps your partner might comment on the mess. And there we are. So I'm just going to chop into this. I know that none of the models touches. I can feel bits flying off it towards me now actually. Until such times you can just pull that off. Now there's little tiny bits going to be flying off. Once again I can have a look at where I want to start from. And I'm going to go back from the tail. I can see from the tail, I can just start just gently. Now, once again, these supports, these lightweight ones that I use, will literally come off, but it's the mass that makes the support. Now, I'm just going to get my little cutters now, and I'm just going to start nipping away, and just helps me dig away at it. Got really quite thick at the back there. You can, I didn't bother going into individual models. Once I got a density, I set it for all the models that were on the plate, so maybe the density wasn't necessary for this one. Density on this is really thick up near the arms, so I'm going to need to just use my clippers there. And once I get it going, I should just be able to pull it off. There we go. It does create quite a bit of shrapnel. Just pulling away. That's it. Take your time. Have a look at the model. And just pull away. Now they are in a sort of a cross framework, and you'll find that on some of the larger models you would need to cut the frames, as it were, and you'll see what I mean when you get to chipping away at everything. I can use that. I like to use the end of my pincers, as it were, to just tease off some of this. And if you're gentle enough, you're not going to just, there we go, nice big chunk coming away there. And under here, now I know that some of these legs can be a little bit fickle, so we're just going to start nipping away at the support under there and pull that through. So methodically, take your time. Once you've done one, you will know where the things to take, you know, to take a notice of. They're not, I mean, like I say, they're not overly. Now that's got quite a bit. Yeah, it is thick in the middle, but it will just pull away. Okay. Getting me crab out, whatever they call them. I haven't got the names in front of me, and I'm sure people are shouting out, it's this, this is what they are. There's a few of these crab things in the game, isn't there? Crab things. Okay, so I'm starting to get, they're a bit nested underneath here. I'm going to start just getting in the side there. There we go. You'll notice that you will just get that little bit of action. Pull things apart. Once you start, we're nearly there actually. Oh, there's a bit of a chunk. I know that the belly of this is pretty flat and there's nothing like sticking out. I mean, obviously when you come, I mean, a large percentage of these models is that they're actually not, you know, got silly detail coming off, but there are some very intricate ones as well. I come back to the bird guy or bird person. And I'm just going to tease that around. Another thing I sometimes get with these is, if it's really intricate inside, is some there we are, starting to really clean up now. Is a sort of magnifying glass. I have a, you know, little hobby things there with the lights in. I mean, they're absolutely ideal for modelling anyway. Everybody should have one. I'm just using the tweezers there to pick off the last bits. Now, when you've got a model like this that's done a lot of this, there will be little bits dotted around. This is where we can get that, the toothbrush. You know, the toothbrush I've lost somewhere. I know it's on the other side there somewhere. But I don't want to leave you guys. Just go over and get your toothbrush or a small brush and you can brush it out in there. Knock off all these bits. There's nothing worse, by the way, because they shouldn't need another wash. If you wanted to, you can wash them in isopropyl. Don't see why. These are all pretty sort of dry, actually. However, you are free to do so. They do actually spray up straight. Once these are hardened, once these have actually got, well, yeah, we have to go around and just. Once these have actually been hardened, they can just spray them straight away. Now, nothing worse than spraying them and finding out that you've still got little bits of support. So there we are, one crab guy. I think that's that mind one. That's that funny shaped head. It's a crab. Right, okay, so that's probably a more involved one there than our automatron, as it were. Also on this plate is the bolt throwing machine. Let's have a quick look at that. So we'll chop off one of them, break off one of them. Now, this does have some intricacies, relatively. So you are really best off for this particular model is go and cut underneath. But then you can sort of work at the, once you get it off the base, as it were, you can start just teasing things around. And like I say, once you've done one, you have a good idea of what to expect on the next one. So these are quite good because the outrunners are all sort of, yeah, So there we have a little bit of a problem there. No, we'll just keep that there. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. You're gonna get a breakage. You're gonna get something that separates. So keep your eye on it, and you're not going to get a lot of them. If you go, at reasonable pace, you can cut things around, pull them off. But if you go too mad at it, you're going to break something. And unfortunately, you are going to potentially, and I'm not saying all the time, you are going to potentially on some of the more difficult ones. Oh, don't use the word difficult, we use the word challenging, don't we? On the more challenging models, you're going to break something. And there I have broken that little support thing. Now I'm going to glue that, it's no biggie. I'm going to get that off. Now I've identified it, so that's all good. It's nothing worse than fishing through the bits. And I'm going to put that to one side, and I know that that belongs to that. It's not a big deal. If you're doing this because you're modelers anyway. I'd like to think you're doing it because you've never done any of this before. However, it's not that difficult. And I've got to say, actually, I mean, if you were to choose what upgrade to do to these games like Gloomhaven and big campaign games, do you go for the scenery first? What bits of the scenery do you go for? I mean, one of the first upgrades, really, if you go in that route, is the minis, isn't it? Oh, and some walls. I would say tiles will last, really. Right, okay. So now I know that this attachment down here needs to be separated on the legs. So I'm going to knit the... Oh, yes, that's good. Got that in one. Okay. A little bit of action going on there. So, and sometimes you do struggle. What is support and what is model? Well, I have posted, or will be posting, when they're all clipped, pictures of all the models, so you will be able to have a look there. Is that model or is it support? Okay, I think that is the support bit there. So once again, another fiddly model, but it's the first one. The next ones will just get faster and faster and faster. So I think I need to have a little brush off. So I'm going to put that one to one side, but I can see at the top there where that little leg would go. Is great, absolutely fine. We'll just glue him back on later on. So that's the bolt shooter. Okay, right, let's put that one to one side. He's in the repair area. You're gonna have a lot of shrapnel and bits and pieces lying around, as you can see. Anyway, coming back to the two that we've just done. So let's have a quick chuck of them in. So I want to get myself a couple of stands there. Let's just get rid of the shrapnel there. No, I haven't thrown away the little leg from the bolt shooter. Right. I'm not saying you're going to get gold ones or pink ones, but you will get a variety of colours. All depends what we've got in. No, this stuff. So, get my super glue on. I know that this, so I put it up onto the stand, as you can see. I've kept all the models so that even though they might be slightly bigger, you can actually put them all onto one stand. Alright, now two ways of doing this. We can go and dab around the oh, it says as his glues. Is my glue coming out? No, it's not. I should have prepared myself for the film. Okay, come on, you will now. Alright. Now, other ways of fixing these, well, super glue's the main one for me. I mean, you could use PVA. If you have a different fixing system, then that's fine. So I'm just going to set her down there. Get my mitre. Don't use this spray near your glue, by the way, because it'll seal the top. And little puff there. Just hold it into position. Literally it's seconds. And we go. There we are. Solid. There she is. The Crab 9 thing. Number 1. The Automatron. I think it was called. He was quite funny because his legs were quite splayed. So he pretty much goes. Yeah, once again, he's going to get a couple of dabs on the bottom. I mean, you've got 300. I mean, unless you're a Gloomhaven owner and you've had the minis printed before, then you know, you don't have so many. I forget the exact count at the moment because I've just done the full set. But I think it's around about 60% of the old Gloomhaven monsters is incorporated in this new set. So there we are, Mr. Automatron or whatever, and Crab Guy Mind thing. They're ready to go. Now, whilst we're on, actually in the kit you get these yellow, red, white stands, and I'm going to print. Now, a lot of people say, how do you get the numbers on the? How do you know what number they are, etc.? So obviously we've got the same things, but what I do is I print these outers, and they've got all the way round, like this is the number 2, a little embossed number that you can make out. What I tend to do is get these and just dry brush them with a colour that is going to lift that out. So in this case I'll probably dry brush it with a little bit of white, lift out the number 2. You can see the number 2 quite clearly actually. And then effectively what these do is they just sit in that base like that. Simple as. There's Mr. Automatron number 2, Mr. Automatron. On there, it's got a hole in the bottom so you can park it out. Once with anything printed PLA, you might just have to have a little sand. You know, if it's not to your liking, then it's a soft material, so you can just tease it around with a bit of wet and dry or something. There we go. Mr. Crab Guy going in. Mr. Crab Guy is number 2. There he is. Right. Super. Right, so that's clipping and mounting. If you do have the print service, and as I said it's a print service done, you will get 17 plates of minis. That's a hell of a lot of minis. I've got my whole collection of Gloomhaven minis there. None of them, I only painted a few. So now they bring another game out. So I've got, God, well, it's a lot of minis, isn't it? It's a lot of minis. There we are. Okay, any comments at all? Just fire them over. I'm just sending this into the group. I'll do something different for the actual YouTube thing. Once again, if you are interested in having the print service done, I'm pretty much there on what it's looking like at the moment, and I'm happy that most stuff's come through now with the trial prints and so on, and sizing and support, so all good to go. Anyway, I'll give a notice to say when we go live. All right, thank you very much. Bye now.